What is going on, everybody? BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets-Haber. We are going to be talking through the last NBA slate before the All-Star break. We won't have a whole lot of NBA DFS to discuss for a little bit, so going to work on some site stuff and looking forward to that. But in the meantime, ready to get into the final slate. I think that if we want to draw like comparisons to past years and just the way things are and try and take a little bit of edge, I think that it's just important to remember that teams tend to really, the teams that matter, the teams that are playing for something, it's like being on, not on an ESPN game, but like you don't have to worry about tomorrow night. You don't have to worry about you're getting your break. And other guys kind of check out early when they're on the maybe the Houston side of things as a team that it relates to tonight. They had their big game last night against Phoenix. Those guys may just take their vacation a little bit early. So just throwing that out there. It's not saying it's guaranteed, but that is my initial take of how these slates work. And Sheets, what do you think? Any sort of overall thoughts before getting into game by game?
Yeah, we'll do a couple of whatchamacallit, of public service announcements. You guys aren't gonna hear this by the time it happens, but just so you guys know, MMA this weekend, I'll do a breakdown of that. Terrible card, but it's still the same 100K for first. And I'll be able to update stuff this weekend, and Daytona, it kicks off the NASCAR season with 1 million for first in that. And we're gonna have Brandon Cruz. We're gonna record. If you want to make it, you can, Bobby, at like 2:00. And he's going to talk about Daytona a little bit and just how to play DFS. I took some questions from there. I a lot of respect for him, and so hopefully he can get on as much as possible. So that's this weekend, and I have no interest in the NBA All-Star game, but I'm sure that if somebody will do something with a slate, right?
I'm sure somebody. What I'll do is maybe I'll do like a run through or something like that. You could throw it's a good slate anyway because you don't need projections for an NBA All-Star game. It's there's no way to project what players are going to do in that kind of environment. So I think you could you just treat everything a little bit narrative based, and that seems to work for NBA All-Star.
What we could do if you want, maybe like tomorrow or whatever. We could definitely do something where, since everybody can bet any freaking thing, we could speculate on the dunk contest and the
Sure.
3-point contest or whatever it is. That's something we can do, I guess.
Sure, absolutely. I don't mind that. All right, let's pull up your screen and let's go game by game here. And it's only a little 5-gamer, so we don't have to worry about all the stuff from last night. And it's interesting. There's a lot of late news breaking.
Hang on, you got to pause this a second. Sorry.
I can't.
Hey Mason, I'm really busy.
All right, as we were saying, Sheets, go ahead and talk about a little bit about Miami, Charlotte, or whatever else. So
I didn't even get started yet with it. I just uploaded some stuff, and the first thing I would notice is that, you talk about park downgrades and stuff and park upgrades. Again, baseball season's coming, hopefully. This is all things I think about is when one team is used to playing fast and they play a team that's playing slow, that has double effect, right? The fast team plays slower and the slower team plays faster, like they're used to. So 2 different ways to approach this game. One is I probably would want to, probably try to stay away from Charlotte, because they've had some really, really nutty matchups in the last week or so, and their high-paced strategy, whatever, coincided with who they were playing. But Miami's rough. It's rough to get anywhere against them. And on the other hand, Miami, if they get into a high-paced environment, maybe with Charlotte, maybe some of those guys can do something. So I would, presuming that these guys are playing, which is always we're worried about. I think Lowry remains a good play. I think that Butler remains a good play for Miami, and I'm probably going to stay away, at least at first glance, from the Charlotte guys. What I did was I ran like a 300 lineup build just to see what types of ownerships I would get given now, and I wouldn't be getting to too much Charlotte right now.
Yeah, I think that projections will go that direction, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's what they'll do. Right. I do want to point out what happened with Harrell so far is sort of what we thought would happen with Harrell, right? 22 minutes his first game, 29, then 30, then almost 34 minutes the last game against Minnesota. There's a chance he's just being drastically under. I'm looking at a 28-minute projection for a guy who just played 33 minutes. They signed him with a new team. He was their one acquisition for the one position that they were struggling with. He's not a great center, but and by the way, Plumlee's playing well too, so it's kind of weird. But they played them together last time out quite a bit. So I'm sort of struggling with the Charlotte side to sort of piggyback on what you said, but I feel like I really want to play these Miami guys, which makes me kind of want to play these Charlotte guys. It's also worth noting that the guys like the Max Strusses and sometimes we'll see what happens if Caleb Martin's out again. That would open up more for that. Duncan Robinson. This is the kind of matchup where you could see one of those guys making those 7 or 8 threes because of the pace of the game, the lagging defense. I just feel like there's a chance for something like that, some sort of anomaly type of performance from either Vincent or Struss or Robinson. So I actually would try and include those guys in my mix. And I even think for a guy like PJ Tucker, when the biggest problem for a guy is he doesn't try to score, he just tries to rebound, play defense. And you're going to get just you're just going to get points doing other things. This is a good game for other things. It's a good game for steals, blocks, rebounds, and for open looks in the corner. So all of these guys are interesting to me as of right now. I actually think that the only guy, I just want to make a general point about Butler. Jimmy Butler is an awesome player, but he plays like part of the reason is he plays like his playoffs, like he played in the playoffs all the time. He tends to play a little better actually in slower down matchups. Because that's sort of his style. He's not, it's not up, run and gun kind of a guy. It's a execute in the half court, run your half court offense through him. Sometimes catch it at the elbow and then, send your, I don't know. I just feel like I don't feel like it benefits him necessarily as much as I feel like it might Lowry or Bam. So I do like all three of them, but that's just a general thought. And I will at first look definitely be mixing in one of Vincent, Struss, depending on Caleb Martin, one of Vincent, Struss, or Duncan Robinson. And it's really hard to prefer one over the other. The only reason I sometimes like Robinson is because he gets the first crack at it. But at the same time, we've seen Struss come off the bench and make 8 threes in the game this year. And we've seen Vincent come off the bench and make 8 threes in the game this year. So this is a good matchup for that. So that's the only reason I mentioned it. But we can move on to Washington, Brooklyn.
Yeah, this is a more I think fantasy friendly game, at least for the guys that I'm looking at. I did okay with Andre Drummond. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, he was good.
It was yesterday. Yeah, he had 19 rebounds in 23 minutes, which is pretty freaking ridiculous.
He's an unbelievable rebounder. Yeah.
Gotta be kidding me. So yeah, but back to back, what's he gonna do? He's not in the All-Star game, right? I mean,
no, of course not. Yeah.
Everybody gets a week off. Why not play him? You know what I mean? Like whatever. I don't know. So I do like that a little bit. Again, we're speculating now, but James Johnson again might be a decent play. Seth Curry I have as a good play. So these are kind of like the guys from Brooklyn. Those three. Bruce Brown again. It looks like a decent play. And on the Washington side, again, these same value guys just keep kind of showing up for me, like these. Actually, not too much, like KCP and Avdia and stuff like that. I mean, none of them seem like guys you really want to play. But I guess like right now, there's not too much value until like later on in the slate, I think. So I don't know. But I do think those guys rate to be decent plays.
Yeah, so look, like I said, with every night with value, it makes me nervous to just say guys are just bad and good, but I'll just say what I do. Sheets has gone back years and years before we did the shows together with the same issue with me. Just tell me what you think. Don't worry about the stuff. And KCP is going to make me look like a fool sometimes. Most of the time he won't. But yesterday on an 11-game slate with all the value out there, he was not my favorite value. And he had a great game. He took 18 shots. He made 4 out of his 6 threes, and he put up 40 fantasy points. Now that's going to happen sometimes. He also had 3 steals. This is just what's going to happen on a slate like this. Is much more the time where I like to use him. Unfortunately, he's going to be more popular tonight than he was last night. But all these guys who I was sort of not as interested in their value last night, I have a little more interest tonight just because the nature of the slate. But I don't think you should be playing KCP expecting the 40 fantasy points and things like that. I just think that, look, it's going to happen a few times a year. Basically, that happens. That's pretty much it. But I do think KCP, Kispert, Avdia and Neto are all in play, but I don't really have like a strong definitive, we need to play them. And maybe I think that Avdia might actually be my favorite. And I think he's like the safest to get there. I think like KCP could put up 16 in 30 minutes. And also he just played a bunch of minutes. He's pretty old on the second of the back-to-back. It's interesting to see what they'll do with Hachimura. That'll open up these guys even more. I personally, right now, I'm leaning that Kuz is still a great play at 9K even. And Seth Curry is my favorite part of this game at first glance. Everybody else is a mix-in tournament play. I think Patty Mills' price is going to make me start wanting to play him. I know the production has been just dreadful, and it really is running through Curry a lot. But between Patty Mills at 5,100, Cam Thomas at 58, Andre Drummond at 6K, I definitely have interest in these guys, and Bruce Brown at 45. I feel like they all blend together, and I don't have a decided advantage between any of them. I think if you are, though, playing Brooklyn outside of Drummond, or maybe even including Drummond, you should sort of throw out last night. And by the way, Drummond was good. He played 22 minutes. I mean, 20, like you said, like, it's not like they're out there running him, 35 minutes. And he's a good fantasy point per minute producer, so you're going to get away with that sometimes. But is he a better play at 6K and 20? He hasn't even played 24 yet with this team. I don't know. I'm just sort of stuck on that one. The guys I know for sure that I want to play are Curry and Kuzma. Everybody else, I'll be better at 6 with that one than I am right now. Because I feel like they all rate as almost the same type of play to me. And when that happens and you've got enough guys on one team, tends to be better to mostly avoid it, or just pick one that you like the best and try to find a reason. And I really can't at first glance find anyone I like that much better than the other ones.
Only because of 5 games, I feel like I forgot to talk about somebody from the other game.
Do
you like them? Do you like Bam at all back from Miami?
Yeah, I do like I like the best. I said I like Bam and Jimmy. A little bit, I feel like the matchup could Bam and Kyle Lowry, excuse me. I feel like the matchup could benefit guys like that more than it would Jimmy Butler because of the style of play. And whereas, not saying Butler can't play at a high place game at all, I'm saying that I don't think he gets the boost that the ownership will reflect. I think he's going to look like the best play on the slate to a lot of people. And if you actually look at a lot of these games where he has these really big games, like Dallas, for example, where he was really good the other night, they don't tend to be the teams that just blitz up and down the court. I also think he makes this game slower, and I think that game is probably going to hit it's pretty weird to see Miami in a 224.5 game. Don't you think? Like every game we see is like 210 with them, and this is 224.5. Just a little bit jarring, I guess. Okay, Dallas and New Orleans. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, it's only 5 games on the slate. I mean, Luka's got to be in play, right? And when I ran my stuff, I've been getting a good amount of them. Maybe 35% of him or whatever. So it certainly makes sense. I'm not getting a lot of anybody else though. I'm not getting much of anything from New Orleans. I'm not getting much of anything else in Dallas. I'm really just getting a one-off Luka. So that's pretty much what I have from this game. And you like anything aside from that?
I think Luka. I mean, well, I look at this is another slate where I prefer to play guys like Kleber. I think he had it was a bit of an outlier game in the sense that he had 5 blocks and a steal the other night, but he has that in his repertoire. Like, it happens with him sometimes. I'm just trying to think about matchups, and are they going to want him? Who are they going to match up with? Joval. It's not. He's actually like their best all around defender probably, but I don't know that that's the right kind of a guy to put out there. But it's weird because he's a lot bigger sideways than Dwight Powell. Dwight Powell's a lot springier. It's interesting to me. I'm just sort of like interested in what they end up doing, but I think there is enough upside here for Kleber, and I think he's actually a reasonable play at 4K. Even though Kleber is incredibly frustrating because he'll put up that weird 40 game, and you're like, oh, why weren't we on him? And then he'll put up like 10 fantasy points. You're like, why did he only have 10? It's just the way he plays. It's just he's a 3-point shooter who plays defense. That's it, really. I mean, he got his points last time from actually he got to the line more than I've ever seen him get to the line. But you get 5 blocks and a steal. You're not going to have to do all that much else to meet value at these prices. But that's also not anything to count on anyway. This is a long way of saying I think Kleber, DFS are in play. I think that Jalen Brunson is, even with Dinwiddie there, just the usage is still really solid, and it's a guy I feel good about getting 30-something fantasy points. I don't know if I feel about him going much higher than that, but those would be the guys. If you don't play Luka, I think you could take a shot there. And I'm really curious to see what they do with Dinwiddie going forward, because I don't really see them as using him very much, as my guess. And on the New Orleans side, it's not a good matchup, but the price on Ingram and Joval feels too low. And I actually think I'll make a priority because they're going to, I think Joval especially will be really low owned because he hasn't really put up that crazy game in a while, but he was going to the other night against Toronto. It just happened to be that he ended up, they blew him out. So he missed his fourth quarter rotation and he still put up 37. So Ingram and Joval would be the guys I like the most on that side. I think you could play McCollum. I think I would rather play a guy like Kuzma than McCollum tonight, similar price range. And I think Kuzma, given where he's at, like if Ingram and Joval were out, yes, then I would love McCollum. But Kuzma basically has nobody else to really carry any flow for that team. And he's really doing it all for Washington. So I don't really have any interest in those guys, but I do think that I do like Luka and I do like one of Joval or Ingram. And that's where I'm at for this one.
So apparently we go to Philadelphia, Milwaukee. Apparently the Celtics heard me in the when we did our last show before a Sixer game, when I said that Embiid, this he's going to take this opportunity to really put on a lot of use to have great games till Harden gets there. Apparently the Celtics heard me, so because they decided to basically quadruple team him and basically wipe the Sixers off the face of the earth in the last game. We didn't beat him by 35 or something like that.
Yep.
So
how often did it happen? How often do you see a guy sheets on the losing side of a 45-point game who plays only 26 minutes, who usually plays 35, and he has 16 free throws though?
Yeah.
Isn't that nuts? They were just like, nope, we're not gonna let you score easily. Sorry.
No. Yeah. So in any case, obviously that game is a throwout. What do they think? What do you think both these teams do in this game? You know what I mean? Like it's the last game before the All-Star break, and yet it could be an Eastern Conference big preview or whatever it is. Do you think that both teams are really going 1,000% in this game? I don't know, man.
I do.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then let's go. I mean, then go play Giannis or go play Embiid, go play them both, and just hope it goes off. No.
Yeah, I think after the other night, it's much more important for Philly than it is for Milwaukee. It should be noted. I think that, like I said, when the trade happened, I don't think people realize how much Seth Curry meant to that team. And until you get Harden in there, and by the way, I mean, the Harden curse thing is already all over the memes on, even though he hasn't played a game yet for these guys.
It's still his fault, even if he's not on the court.
But I mean, look, in some ways they did take away the other guys, and they sort of assumed he'd be healthy, but then he heard the guys making fun of him on the. You saw what happened, right? On the NBA, we have a quick minute. So on the NBA,
about the hamstring or whatever.
No, it was LeBron and KD picking the All-Star teams, and because that's how they do it now. They have a snake draft. So they were picking the All-Star teams, and then finally, after like a million picks, LeBron goes, "Is James Harden even healthy?" and Charles Barkley was like, because they're announcing what they're doing. He's like, "Yeah, he got traded. He's fine now." Turns out it was like joking.
No. The comment I saw was I think it was Tracy McGrady or something like that, saying, "All I see is him practicing step backs. I have no problem. I don't see where his hamstring is hurt or something like that." You know what I mean? I don't know.
No, I'm just saying there's a lot of stuff on this. Boy, wouldn't that be a weird little kink right before the All-Star? No way it'll happen because they want to give him the All-Star rest. But what if they announce James Harden starts tonight?
If they announce James Harden starts tonight, I'm going to play him in all my lineups.
Really? You think so, huh?
I mean, if that's the only reason he would play is to basically shut everybody up, right? I mean, that's.
I know, but he's not the same guy to shut everybody up anymore. Obviously. That's the only problem.
What's his price, by the way?
I don't even know actually because I don't have him as.
Is he like 8K or something like that?
No, I'm sure he's probably like. 12.
Oh, he's already okay.
This is a weird game, and I don't know. I think it's kind of worth it just to play Embiid. I think the problem is that Embiid is actually going to be just completely massively owned because of the lack of size for Milwaukee. And if Embiid ends up that much higher owned than Luka, I think I just have to go the other way. Even though I like Embiid a good deal, I don't think we're going to have the value to play both those guys. And you also have a guy named Giannis on the other side, who the other night was the lowest owned of all the studs, and of course smashed better than any of them did.
Yep. And
I never don't like Giannis, so it's not like this is not an ideal matchup for Giannis, but it's. What does that matter? Like,
right.
Holiday and Middleton, I think, are interesting because of the nature of the slate. And I actually like Serge Ibaka a little bit, but I don't feel like I like as much in this game as I sort of thought I would. My favorite piece is definitely would be Embiid and Giannis, and it's hard to get those guys in. I think there could be an argument made for a guy like Tyrese Maxey at 6,300. He's had some really down games for a little bit now, but this is, he's not going to have many more chances to show out a little bit before you get those guys here. And it's also been sort of fluky that he hasn't had, because they've been on both ends of blowouts a few times. So it's hard to really rate where he's at. But I think Maxey and Harris are fine because of the slate. But I don't think this game is overly interesting to me. I'll revisit that one later, because I don't really feel like I need to play Embiid at 40%. One of Embiid, Giannis, or Luka are probably going to end up in my lineups. And right now, based on the early projections, it's probably going to be Luka for me. So I'll revisit that one though later on.
What would you rather do? You have a choice. You could either play one game of basketball in LeBron's body, one round of golf in Tiger Woods' body, or I don't know, pitch one 9-inning game in like Max Scherzer's body or something like that. What would you do?
Well, just in body, because I think Scherzer, the other guys you mentioned I feel like there's a lot like Tiger and Max Scherzer. I feel like they're a lot more on the, just their mentality is a lot what they are. So if it was just in their body, I'm definitely taking LeBron for basically any sport. If you told me I could play football in one sport, I would pick LeBron. Well, other than Aaron Donald, I would tell you I'd play.
No, with all their skills as well, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think I would take LeBron over all of them.
Okay,
that would be my take. But what about for you?
What's that?
What about for you?
Well, I was watching. I'm straying from a little bit. So Emmanuel Grillo just basically he's coming back now. He's on the green in 2 on a 583-yard par 5, like sitting 24 feet after a second shot. And I'm sitting here. I'm like, okay, I'm like twice his size, and it's you know what happens to me on a 583-yard freaking par 5. I mean, if I get to the green in like 4, I'm really, really happy.
Right.
And to see these, to be able, I'm thinking about what it would be like to play like a round of golf, like as Tiger Woods or something like that. And I remember I used to have this discussion with people, like, would you rather play a round as Tiger Woods or play a game as Michael Jordan and be able to dunk and like jump up and all that stuff? It's freaking crazy. That's the only reason I brought it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I totally think it's interesting. I do have a pretty strong take on this last game. I'm used to.
Well, let's start with the fact that the Clippers are going to be the enormous chalk. Started with Reggie Jackson, so let's start with that.
Yeah, Reggie, and he's a good play, but like, let's not get let's just be aware that this game could go completely sideways very quickly. I know we say that with Houston a lot, but like, first of all, they sit their quote unquote best 2 players, the best 2 producers of the season. Christian Wood and Kevin Porter. Actually, their best 2 players are Jalen Green and Sengun. Jalen Green's just too young, but he will be their best player next year. If they're gonna, if Christian Wood and Porter sit and we don't have that information yet, boy, I don't know how we don't play Sengun. I really don't know how you play a lineup, even if you think they get smashed, which I do. Sengun is going to become an awesome play. Yep. I like Eric Gordon back in LA at 3,800 if they play him on the back-to-back, which he played 38 minutes last night. He took 24 shots. Okay. I don't know if they're going to even let him play back-to-back, but that is something I'm kind of now, he's 3,800 going back to LA. Kind of interesting to me. And if he doesn't play, I just think there's going to be a lot of guys who may not play here and we don't know what to do. Dennis Schroder completely balled out last night. Was awesome. He had 46 fantasy points. He had 30% usage rate. He had 9 assists, 6 rebounds, 23 points. Like he was all over the place. And maybe if they rest Christian Wood and Porter again,
roll them out there again. Why not?
If I were them, I would rest them again.
Yeah, I'm saying roll out Dennis Schroder again. Why not? Let's go.
But only if one of these guys are sitting, or if he's somehow starting. And the problem we're going to run into on this slate is like, we're not going to know that. I don't think we might, but it's unlikely to know 4 hours beforehand whether those guys are going to play. We found out last night, an hour and a half or an hour beforehand, what was happening. So I don't know.
All these other guys, the Clippers are good values anyway. You know what I mean? You could play guys in this game. And just whatever happens, you know what I mean? Like, because all those guys have Marcus Morris is a good play. Reggie Jackson's a good play. I guess Luke Kennard plays. I mean, he's a good. I mean, all those guys are Terrence. I mean, all those guys are good plays. No,
they're all
Zubac.
they're all good plays. Yeah. But okay. So to try and differentiate them from each other is tricky though. Like,
No, the only reason I bring it up is that like if you want to wait on like Dennis Schroder stuff, I mean you could plug in these Clipper guys, and then if you do want to play Schroder, you could just replace one of the Clipper guys with him.
Yeah. Yeah, this is where I'm struggling because I think they're all going to have some ownership. I actually think Terrence Mann feels like a guy because I feel like he can get the run either way, the blowout run too. Now, what he does as in terms of his results, he had those great games in a row, but everybody in the world played him the other night and he put up 12 fantasy points. And I think that they're kind of scared of him a little bit now. I think Luke Kennard has the upside. You can play him as again, another one who'll probably play in a blowout or either way, put up 24 in his first game back the other night. Coffee, I think this is the way I would rank it. I guess the Reggie Jackson is the obvious one, but I am probably going to be under the field on Reggie Jackson, who's going to be like 50% owned at the moment. I will go more towards Hartenstein. More towards Mann, Kennard, Coffee, Zubac, Hartenstein. All five of those guys would be the ones I mix in. The problem is you've also got like, Covington there at 3,900. They have a lot of guys who are going to play minutes, but I think that I'm sort of leading into the one guy who I left off for a while. Nick Batum is not like he's playing a ton of minutes, but I'm telling you, like he's a part of everything they do. He's a really good rebounder. I've always been a huge fan of him as an actual like real life offensive player, especially, but he's a good rebounder. He sets up plenty of stuff. He took 14 shots in 25 minutes the other night. That's kind of like a weird anomaly. The only problem is all these guys are like, the Clippers are the biggest wild card team in the NBA that you don't know who's going to play night in and night out. Zubac might get 15 minutes one night and he might get 35 the next night. It's really hard to peg these guys. So, right, I think what you do is you take a speculative angle. If you think the game stays reasonably close, you play Reggie Jackson. If you think the game is a massive blowout, you play guys who can make it a blowout, like Kennard, who can get hot. I like Terrence Mann because I think he plays either way. I think Batum is a strong play. And the Clippers try to win every game they play out there. So running it back with guys like Eric Gordon and Jalen Green, I think makes some sense. And if Porter and Wood are out, I think we should go back to Şengün. And by the way, you know what? I'm just going to say this right now. In real life, Christian Wood sucks. Like he has talent, no question. His teams, the best he's ever been on was a team that was 20 games under 500. You cannot win with this guy being one of your best 3 or 4 players. And you certainly can't feature him. Şengün is better than he is straight up. He's a better basketball player by a lot. I don't know why you don't just give this kid the reins already and just let it go, And if you just got Schroder and you're going to lose him or whatever anyway, you don't need to play him. But like these guys are better players than the Wood and Porter situation. Wood and Porter are fun for fantasy, but I don't know, man. It really is going to come down to what happens with Wood and Porter. And I'm going to do some digging before 6, and I will try to get whatever information I can find out for you guys, because if they don't play, you're going to want to have to target this game, even if you think it's a blowout. You have to play the Clippers guys off the bench, and you have to play the Şengün again. You have to play Schroder. You could mix in Josh Christopher, but Jalen Green and Gordon would be the other two. But don't be surprised if Gordon sits on the back-to-back. If it wasn't coming to LA, I think that he would genuinely be sitting here most of the time. So we'll see. This is going to be, it's a tough early breakdown because of that Houston situation determining everything.
So that's fine. We'll deal with it. So you guys want to root? I'll give you something to root for. You always ask me how golf is doing, and I always say I don't care until after the second day. So I'll put a lineup up on the board. You ready?
Let's see it.
Okay. You see it?
Oh, baby doll.
All right. So we're up on the board in first place. I'm rooting for a hurricane to whatever it is. So we got Grillo and Patton Kizzire both at 2%. We got Scotty Scheffler, and I am off-brand, going back-to-back with Scotty Scheffler after his win last week.
You didn't see mine and Kenny's show. That was one of our guys.
Right. Now, of course, excuse me. Did I not see the show? You didn't see Discord. I basically summarized both of our videos.
Oh, beautiful.
I listed like all the guys from our contest, like all together. And then so I got Rahm. I'm not worried too much about Rahm and Smith. Yeah. And I got Corey Connors ready to start. So I just need a big hurricane to wipe everybody else out. And this takes it all home.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, you're in the second snowman because the other one sold out too fast.
The other one sold out. And you know what's awesome about it? As I was staring at both of them, and I was like, I'm probably supposed to do the right thing and go in the one with only pays 50 because it'll be softer. I'm like, but you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go. And then by the time I even considered it, the thing was sold out.
It's gone. Yeah, that's what happened to me too. But the problem was I sold action and then so I couldn't do it anyway. Whatever. It's a tough one. But
this is like the perfect podcast one because I got freaking Grillo, who was always a source of our aggravation.
Yeah.
We got the General, who we always play.
Right.
We have Scheffler, who I would never play because he won last week.
Right.
But because Fitzpatrick, who was going to be my highest owned golfer, got scratched 45 minutes to post time, I had to literally redo everything. So there we go. So you guys, look at this, dude. I'm ahead by 14 points. How can I lose?
Well, let's freaking go. I love it.
All right.
Guys, we'll see you. Will you be around 6?
Yes.
All right. So we will see you guys at 6 Eastern and we will have more information on this. I am going to flirt with maybe the first time after the break sheets, we can, maybe I'll start it at 2:30 or say 5:30 or something. And then you come in, because I just think that I've noticed that it's not today so much. It shouldn't be an issue, but it is on days like yesterday with 11 games scrambled, all the possible news informations. It's kind of hard to even do your best without being able to look at both. And unless we had someone else like coordinating the show, it's kind of hard for me to focus on every part of it. You know what I mean? And also to build my own lineups too.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, good luck tonight and let's make some money.
All right. I'll